Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. My producers, Luke, Frank, they're eating up all my private time off the air with Dexter talking about cold weather. It is like 60 here today in Florida, but that's fine. I don't want to throw it in Dexter's face here.
Greg,
That
Greg, you just did. You literally just did. You did.
yeah, well, a subtle sort of passive aggressive way there. Okay, so let's get last night to a guy that used to play here in South Florida. That is LeBron James. He's seemingly, I don't know why getting so much attention here. This must be a farewell tour if everybody's talking about it. He goes to Cleveland
Mm.
last night, and it was not a competitive game. Cleveland is now playing good basketball again. They beat the Magic a couple times, the Kings, the Hornets, now the Lakers. And so this is where we thought they would be at the beginning of the season. They just took an odd route to get there. So, two-part question here, I guess. Let's start off with Cleveland being legit again for you, Dexter. We'll start there. And then I sort of, when I see these sort of things, it sort of makes me feel like if LeBron is answering questions and he's sort of diving into this and they're making a big deal out of it, maybe indeed this is his last run in Cleveland.
So I was wondering about this, right? Is it his last run in Cleveland, or does he just know his time with the Lakers is limited? We know how much LeBron takes up a bunch of the cap. He is absolutely next season, if he plays, he's going to absolutely take a reduction, and I'm not sure it'll be with the Lakers. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with LeBron going there. But you saw him get emotional during that tribute video last night, where they showed him scoring the 25 straight points against Detroit back in the day, and so he got very emotional. I think he just knows a lot of things are coming to an end. I don't know if it's a finality as far as this season, Craig, but I think he understands there's not that many games left. As far as the Cavs, look, you're right. A lot of people expected them to be at the top of the standings. Thought it would be them and the Knicks, 1-2 in the East. They have not played in the same fashion. They have not played in the same way. But you mentioned the wins they've got against lesser opponents. Lakers, a better opponent, although they have their issues defensively. And the Cavs did what they were supposed to do. I think what was most impressive last night was what they were able to do in the third quarter, where they put up 42 points. They were 17 of 25 from the field, 7 of 11 from three. You like that offensive output. You like the balance that they had overall, and their scoring led by Donovan Mitchell. So the Cavs seem to be playing some good basketball. I always thought they would bounce back and get to the top of the standings, and now you're starting to see that. And they're stringing together some good wins. I forgot, I shouldn't say, the Kings and the Hornets, lower opponents, but the Magic, those were two good wins against the Magic, Eastern Conference playoff team, play-in team right now. So the Cavs are starting to turn things around. It looks good for them.
Yeah, definitely so. And I think right now the Lakers just looking to kind of get back on the right track, and certainly they will before the end of the season, probably by making some trades of some kind, always involved in rumors and not and
Hmm.
whatnot. Okay, so Heat Magic here. Not surprising to me that this is a close game. Well, I mean, 9 points, not as close maybe as I would have thought last night. I guess the shocking part about this, Dexter, is that the Heat can't beat the Magic this season. They've lost all
Yeah.
four times they've played. Paolo Banchero had 31 points last night. And look, Heat has been up and down a little bit. Magic has been up and down, but I feel like probably Orlando finishes ahead of Miami in the standings here. But my confidence on either of these two teams going deep into the playoffs is minimal. But I would say both probably have a shot to get in.
Yeah, I think you'd probably feel better about Orlando. You're right, Craig. They've had their number this season. They also had a crazy game where they had a game winner by Desmond Bain this year. So the games
Right.
have been competitive. Orlando, the better defensive team. That's probably why I trust them a little bit more. This was a game of runs. Miami, they were down 14 in the first half. They came back with a run. They took the lead, but then there was a huge fourth quarter. They had a 14-0 run. Orlando did in that one. They also had they doubled up Miami in the third quarter. It's funny. It's a very big theme last night. A lot of teams had big third and fourth quarters. We just talked about that with the Cavs. They doubled them up 40-20 in that third quarter. So the thing with Miami, is that they're still trying to, I think, find their way defensively. Will they make moves at the deadline? Would they sell some of their pieces? You and I have talked all year long about, will they trade Tyler Hero? Will they move on from him? Will they be involved in the Giannis sweepstakes? That's very
Mm.
interesting. Orlando, they know who they are defensively, right, Craig? But offensively, they can be up and down. They showed a good offensive quarter in the third last night, and then were able to finish in the fourth with another big 14-0 run. So look, I think Orlando's a better team that could make some noise in the playoffs right now. Miami, I think they're still trying to find themselves.
Knicks last night take care of the Raptors 119-92. I'm sure this was one of your focal points last night in the NBA. I heard Mike Brown after the game saying that OG Anunoby had a big game for them, so we can certainly acknowledge that.
Hmm.
Look, the Knicks went through their little slump. It appears they're kind of getting out of it right now, I would say, Dexter, which is a good reminder to fans out there not to freak out when your team loses 3, 4 in a row in the middle of January.
Yeah, they had a bad stretch in January, 2-9 and 11 game stretch, and they'd lost four in a row, but now they've won four in a row. So I think fans would have said, okay, I don't know if they're riding the ship, but I think this win was one of the Knicks' most impressive wins of the season. And here's why. Jalen Brunson played, but he was battling an illness. So he was very limited. There was no Mitchell Robinson. There was no Deuce McBride in this one. You mentioned OG Anunoby, huge in this game. 26 points, season high, 6 steals, really changed the game in the third quarter, along with Mikal Bridges, who scored 19 of his 30 in that third quarter. It was a really good defensive performance. And in this 4 game stretch, Craig, it's defense again for the Knicks. The defense has really stepped up, which is where they struggled during that 11 game stretch. But in this 4 game stretch, the Knicks have only had an opponent score over 100 points once. And that was the Sixers, who scored 109 points against them last Saturday. So the defense has been really good. Guys seem to have bought in on that end. I think some guys maybe also have been woken up a little bit by the fact that all the Giannis talk. So you're right. It's a long season. You can't get too down, but the Knicks are starting to play good basketball again. And they're going to look to see if they can build on it, because on Wednesday against the Kings, that started a stretch for them as they approach the All-Star break with 10 games in 16 days with 3 back-to-backs. They just finished a
Hmm.
back-to-back last night. So it's a very important stretch for the Knicks as they approach the trade deadline and the All-Star break.
All right. So speaking of hot teams, the Atlanta Hawks playing good basketball lately. They've won a few in a row here, and they're getting points tonight against Houston at home. Let me get your opinion on this game, Dexter. 8 p.m. tip, 225 is the total between the Rockets and Hawks, and seemingly things continue to go well for the Hawks without Trey Young. Can they continue the momentum tonight?
Yeah, the Hawks. This is an interesting game. Houston, very good defensive team, give up around 110 points a game. The Hawks, they can score the ball. They score about 117 points a game. So something has to give here in this one on the road. I like Houston's defense to travel, but I do think you might want to look at the over in this one at 225. The Hawks just have an ability to put up points. Houston's the kind of team I could see their defense holds. They get up on them 8 or 9 late, but the Hawks are able to squeak some points out at the end. Look, the Hawks are a competitive team. They're going to play hard, well coached by Quinn Snyder. I don't love the line because I could see this getting a little bit close late, but I'm gonna go with the over on the points. I think the Hawks are able to push this, and I'm gonna go over the 225 in that over
Two
under line
good
for total points.
two good teams playing tonight in the desert. We've got the Detroit Pistons surging toward the playoffs. Phoenix, good basketball team as well. Detroit probably better on paper, but the line tells us 4.5 point spread, total
Mhm.
215 in a late start this evening. Does Phoenix have enough tonight to overcome Detroit?
Yeah, I say no because no Devin Booker. Devin Booker out of this game. That total line shows you there with the 215. They're respecting both of these defenses in this one. I like Detroit to cover here on the road. They've won 4 straight on the road. I think they can keep that alive once again. I'm going to go with Detroit to cover. I'd stay away from that line there. Jalen Duren, look at his over for rebounds in this one. I think this is going to be a defensive slugfest. If you are going to play that line, I might actually be inclined to go with the under, but
Hmm.
it's a stay away for me, and I'm gonna go with Detroit to cover here.
All right, finally, great matchup tonight between Oklahoma City and Minnesota. The Thunder, rarely anything less than 8 or 9 point favorites. They are 6 tonight on the road at Minnesota. Total 225.5. If OKC doesn't play San Antonio or Houston or Denver in the finals in the West, maybe it's Minnesota. Who knows? Maybe this could be a preview.
Yeah, it could be a rematch of last year's Western Conference Finals. And look, I think Minnesota's going to be motivated in this one. I really do. I would take Minnesota plus the points in this one. I think they're going to keep it close. I think it's going to be really competitive. I like how they haven't been playing well lately, but this is a game they're going to circle on their calendar. This is one of those they can get up for, Craig. So give me Minnesota +6 in this one. I like them to be very competitive and keep it close. I think the guys will be motivated against OKC.
All right, Dexter, stay warm this weekend. Thanks again for coming on Newswire.
Well,
Appreciate it.
you stay cool, Craig. Thank you.